And I believe in the rest of that. In context, he stated that they didn't want to say anything in front of Muntuk because Muntuk talked too much.
Okay.
So I don't believe it was in this moment when they saw your client walking in that he told him in front of Muntuk.
Well, so what's your understanding? When do you believe it occurred?
I believe he further states that he didn't tell him right in that moment that he said it in front of Muntuk.
Well, I mean, you'd want the details, so if that's not when it occurred, I'm asking you, when did this alleged statement from Mr. Stillwell occur? If not then?
You probably should ask Mr. Quindarius that while he was on the stand.
Okay, I did.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court. Welcome back, Investigator Gaither. So, we were talking about an investigator when someone you're interviewing is saying someone else made a statement to them or an alleged statement to them. Okay?
Okay.
I'm asking, as an investigator, you would want to obtain from the person you're interviewing contextual details about this statement that was supposedly given to them, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And those contextual details would include, obviously, who said it, right?
Generally, yes.
Okay. It would include when it was said, correct?
If you're just generalizing something, yes, or if you're speaking about a specific...
As an investigator, someone is saying,
how can you forget this?
Johnny told me this, and it's about what you're investigating. You would want to know when Johnny supposedly said this to the witness, right?
Correct, but every investigation is different. So if you're speaking about context is not always the same in every case because every case is different.
Okay, and we're going to get into specifics in a minute.
Okay.
You would want to know if anyone else was present for this statement to know if there's any other witnesses to the statement, correct?
Generally speaking, I can't just answer that and put all of that in one box, Mr. Shard. If you I'm still answering.
Okay.
I can't just put all of that in one box when you just say all investigations. All investigations and all confessions or interviews are not the same.
As an investigator, when would you not want to know who else heard a statement?
Objection, Your Honor. Relevance.
Well,
Harassing.
Overruled.
As an investigator, when would you not want those details? Explain to me a situation where you wouldn't want those details.
It's a great question.
There's not a situation that I would not want those details, but if we're speaking about something in context, a specific incident, all investigations are not the same. Yes, the generalized who, what, when, where, how, that's essentially what you want to obtain, but sometimes that's not always known by the person that's giving the information.
Okay, but you would want to know.
That's what I just stated generally, sir.
Okay. And you'd also want to know exactly what was said, as close as possible, the wording of what was said, correct?
Correct.
All right. Okay. So let's talk about what Quindarius Zachary said other people said to him during that interview on August 5th, 2015. Okay? Quindarius Zachary claimed that Nard, Demise McMullen, confessed to him during that interview, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yes.
With respect to the confession part,
Oh, okay.
Can you rephrase?
Yes. Quindarius Zachary, in that interview in August 2015, claimed that Demise McMullen, also known as Nard, made statements to him about the Donovan Thomas murder. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. But at other parts of the interview, and I'm specifically referring to 254:33 to 254:49, he told you, Nard didn't tell me nothing. Isn't that correct?
Is that within the context of the murder?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
He also told you during the interview that he did not hear Nard say anything about it. Speaking of the Donovan Thomas shooting. Isn't that correct?
That's what he stated in the video.
Okay. So in the same interview, Quindarius Zachary told you that Nard confessed, or, well, I'm going to use his words, confessed at Thug's house. And he also told you in that same interview, Nard didn't say anything about it, and he did not hear Nard say anything about it. Isn't that correct?
That's what the video states, sir.
Okay. Quindarius Zachary said something did happen, then said it didn't happen in the same interview. You said that Quindarius Zachary was pretty consistent. That's what you said on direct.
Is that a question, or are you just stating it?
That's a question.
Okay.
On direct, you said
Is that a
that
question?
Quindarius Zachary
Oh,
was
man,
pretty
come on,
consistent.
lady.
Yes.
Okay? Quindarius Zachary claiming Demise McMullen said something to him, and then later on in the interview saying Demise McMullen did not say anything to him. Do you find that to be pretty consistent?
In the majority of Mr. Zachary's interview, he was consistent with the statements that he made.
That was good enough? From your point of view? Be pretty
Objection,
consistent?
vague.
Great question.
Sustained.
Okay. Let's talk about
Stay on there, Max.
what Mr. Zachary claimed, the statement Mr. Zachary claimed that Mr. Kendrick gave to him. You actually asked him at 2:53:26 in the interview, you asked him for contextual details. You said exactly what did Mr. Kendrick say, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you asked him that because you wanted to determine the exact words. Correct?
Yes.
You also wanted to ask him where this was said, when it was said, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And when you asked,
I love how Detective Gaither keeps pausing, waiting for love to save her. Like, nah, ain't nobody coming to save you. Answer the questions. She's done this before.
this
It's
was
clear.
said, when it was said, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And when you asked Quindarius Zachary those questions about what he was claiming Mr. Kendrick said, he never answered, did he?
I'm not certain.
Okay. Let's talk about what Quindarius Zachary claimed my client, Mr. Stillwell, said. In this interview,
Still with the Darth Vader. Oh, God.
you saw contextual details regarding what
That's
Mr. Stillwell supposedly said to Mr. Zachary, correct?
Whatever you feel is contextual details.
Okay, well, I want to be on the same page as you. You asked
Okay.
him where and when it occurred, correct?
Yes.
All right, and he told you at 2:51:15 in the interview that he, Mr. Zachary, and Moontoon, Mr. Sledge, had just pulled up to Thug's condo, correct?
Yes.
And that Shannon was planning on going to see some girls and then asked for a firearm, correct?
Yes.
And he told you at that point, before Mr. Stillwell went to see these girls, right when Mr. Zachary showed up, that's when he told Mr. Zachary.
Objection, compound.
Sustained.
Okay. Mr. Zachary told you it was at this time that Mr. Stillwell supposedly
Shout out to Katie.
stated that he caught Nut down bad.
No, I don't believe that was in that moment.
Okay, Your Honor, may I play DS41D?
You may.
rough.
And that's
Katie, you're right.
251:15 to 251:45? Yep.
Where were you guys when Shannon was telling you this, and what day was it? The same day or the day after? Same night. Shannon, I was walking through. I had just walked me and Moose when they pulled up at the house. And Shannon finna go to her house. And all the bullets was going out the gun. Like, he like me got some guns. They see Moose some gun. Right. Moose had a little handgun. They see Moose some gun and go to the store. Moose say, wait, I ain't got no bullet. And that was Shannon. Me and Shannon started talking.
Okay. After viewing that video, would you agree that Mr. Zachary's story to you was that, and Mr. Zachary also told you that he showed up at the condo around 9 p.m., correct?
Which part do you want me to answer
No,
first?
somebody's in there yelling.
9 p.m. Is that what he said?
Was that somebody yelling help? What? Hold on a second. Jeez.
Video.
Sound like someone
Would you agree that Mr. Zachary,
help?
okay. After viewing that video, would you agree that Mr. Zachary's story to you was that, and Mr. Zachary also told you that he showed up at the condo around 9 p.m., correct?
Which part do you want me to answer first?
Oh,
9
that's
p.m.
crazy.
Is that what he said?
I don't recall him saying 9 p.m.
Okay. In that video, Mr. Zachary is telling you, after you saw contextual details, that Shannon made these statements to him when he and Moontoon pulled up to Jeffrey's condo.
That was probably Miss Love's next witness. Crying out. He's got it locked up in the back room. He said, help! I've been in here for 2 years.
Part do you want me to answer first?
John said
9
that's
p.m.
Kokomo.
Is that what he said?
I don't recall him saying 9 p.m.
Okay. In that video, Mr. Zachary is telling you, after you saw contextual details, that Shannon made these statements to him when he and Moontunk pulled up to Jeffrey's condo.
And I believe in the rest of that, in context, he stated that they didn't want to say anything in front of Moontuk because Moontuk talked too much.
Okay.
So I don't believe it was in this moment when they saw your client walking in that he told him in front of Moontuk.
Well, so what's your understanding? When do you believe it occurred?
I believe he further states that he didn't tell him right in that moment that he said it in front of Moontuk.
Well, I mean, you'd want the details, so if that's not when it occurred, I'm asking you, when did this alleged statement from Mr. Stillwell occur? If not then?
You probably should have asked Mr. Quindarius that while he was on the stand.
Okay, I did.
Okay.
Ooh, wait, Judge Whitaker. Why didn't she correct that? She said you should have asked him while he was on the stand. Come on now. The attitude, why?
Statement from Mr. Stillwell occur? If not then?
You probably should have asked Mr. Quindarius that while he was on the stand.
Okay, I did.
Okay.
Are you aware, you would agree that Mr. Zachary is talking about a time before Mr. Stillwell goes to see girls that night?
Yes, when they saw him walking out of the condo is what he was talking about here.
Are you aware that that story changed in 2017?
Your Honor, I object to assuming facts not in evidence until...
Sustained.
We have played that clip, and that's in evidence with Mr. Zachary. We played a clip from 2017.
2017?
Yes.
Okay, then overruled.
Are you aware that his story about when it occurred changed when he spoke to law enforcement and district attorneys in 2017?
I was not in the gang unit in 2017. I was not in the gang unit in 2017.
Let's talk about what Quindarius Zachary claimed Mr. Stillwell said. In the 2015 interview with you, you would agree that he said Shannon told him caught nut down bad.
They caught nut down bad, yes.
Okay. And he also, Mr. Zachary also claimed that Mr. Stillwell gave him details about what had occurred. Told him what happened. Told him who was in the car, for instance.
Yes.
Okay. And told him about going to meet Bushi and riding around in the car, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Are you aware that in 2017...
Your Honor, I'm going to object. If the witness has said she wasn't there in 2017, there's no good faith basis to ask if she knows anything about it. She said she never saw the video. So I'd object to lack of foundation. No good faith basis.
She doesn't know what the question is.
Sustained.
Are these changing stories pretty consistent?
And she sustained it. Wow.
Your Honor, objection.
Sustained.
All right. Now, you were asked if, on direct, if you made any promises to Mr. Zachary. Remember that? Promises about bond or promises about a lenient sentence?
I believe so.
Okay, and you said that you don't have the authority to guarantee someone a lower sentence, right?
Correct.
Okay, and you don't have the authority as a police officer, I'm not saying you personally, but as a police officer, you don't have the authority to guarantee someone bond, correct?
Correct.
And you didn't do that. You didn't make any guarantees, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Do you recall Mr. Zachary when he came to talk to you? Well, let me ask you this. In the calls, did you have any calls with Mr. Zachary before August 5th, 2015?
Before?
Yes. Like you said his family was calling. Did Mr. Zachary ever call you?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay. You say you don't believe so?
No.
Okay. These family members certainly expressed to you a desire for Mr. Zachary to be released, correct?
To be released or for me to come talk to him, pick him up to talk to him?
Both.
I don't recall about a release. His family was calling, asking could I go pick him up because he wanted to speak to me.
Okay. When you got into the interview room with him, he repeatedly stated that his desire was to be released on bond, correct?
Correct.
He stated I need to wear an ankle monitor, but he just needed to get out of
They
jail.
all did.
Your Honor,
Correct?
I object they've heard the interview.
I'm
And so
sorry, you what?
He's
I
allowed
object
to
best
ask her
evidence.
the question.
There, Mr. Shard is asking what he repeatedly stated, so they've heard the interview.
I'm not sure I understand
Best
that objection.
evidence.
Can you repeat your question?
Mr. Zachary, during the interview, repeatedly stated his desire to be released on bond.
And your objection is best evidence?
Yes.
Sustained.
Wow. Look at Max.
Your Honor,
Yes.
Come on, Max.
as an advocate, I'd like to be able to ask questions about the video that was just played. I think it's where to highlight certain aspects.
So I've sustained the objection. You may ask a different question.
Okay. Mr. Zachary
Y'all said Jess Whitaker isn't paying attention.
indicated
She's
to you
not.
that Summer, his girlfriend, had told him it would be in his best interest to come talk to you, correct?
Yes.
And you agreed with him. You said absolutely. Correct? Okay. Now, when we talk about corroboration, that's something that you would do after the interview, correct? Check behind details or facts or claims, correct?
Are we talking about if someone told me something?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
I would
that-
try to attempt to.
Right, but that would be something done after the interview, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and you weren't corroborating things in real time with Mr. Zachary, were you? In the interview room?
Well, if that was a piece of evidence that I had in hand, like Investigator Dennis had a video or I had phone records, I was able to corroborate in that moment. But if you're just talking about based upon
calling
just something he
Jake
said
That's crazy.
that happened, no, I was sitting in the interview room with him.
Right. So you certainly weren't corroborating, I understand you had the phone records for April 28th incident, but you had those on hand during the interview, correct? The April 28th incident phone records?
Yes.
Okay. But regarding the Donovan Thomas case where you weren't the lead investigator, you didn't have materials to corroborate in real time his claims about that, did you?
I'm trying to remember. There were some persons that we had cell phone records of that we knew were involved in retaliatory shootings. So if we would, again, obtain probable cause or search warrant for the cell phone records, some of the persons involved, we would go back to January to see if they were involved in any of the incidents that we could corroborate.
So that involved.
If it-
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So again, if it was a person that we had, some of those persons, we would go back to January to try to get some corroborating evidence.
But those materials were in relation to retaliatory shootings, as you're deeming them retaliatory shootings, not the January 10th, 2015 incident.
January 15th?
No, you had materials, you're talking about materials you had regarding, and these are your words, retaliatory shootings. Though you didn't have documents, or what you're talking about did not involve the actual January 10th, 2015 incident, involved
over there.
things that happened afterwards, correct?
I cannot say for certain that the three persons, I can't say yes or no,
Okay.
out of the persons that we had, that we didn't go back to January the 10th of the Donovan Thomas murder. You say retaliatory shootings, which were in effect because of the murder. So of course we would go to January the 10th and not just the first date that we've known about the shooting, the retaliatory shootings.
Let me ask you this when we're talking about corroboration.
Yes, sir.
During that interview at 3:36:10, Investigator Dennis tells Quindarius Zachary, "You are doing great. You're doing a great job. I can't express to you the magnitude of what you're saying." Correct?
Yes.
Okay. And at 3:36:57, during that interview, Investigator Dennis says, "These next couple of hours will determine the rest of your life." Correct?
Yes.
And then, of course, Mr. Zachary asks, "Can you release me on house arrest?" Right?
Okay. Yes.
And during that interview, on August 5th, 2015, you told
Yeah.
Mr. Zachary, "I'm going to get on the phone with the DA ASAP. You have my word." Correct?
Yes.
Okay. I have no further questions.
Okay. Are there other defense attorneys who have questions for this witness?
Oh wow, this is done.
All right.
Well, the defense had a rough time with Cross yesterday,
Horrible.
and I think it's mainly because. Wait, did she just say horrible? What is wrong with this lady? She said horrible. You hear that?